If we can all feel more safe at the deepest levels of our nervous system, then that's one really good way to quiet down stress and excessive fight or flight responses.
Welcome to Erase PTSD Now, the podcast, erasing the silence. Here we bring trauma out of the shadows and into the conversation. You'll hear real stories, survivors, veterans, clinicians, researchers. Together we'll explore the healing treatment and the science behind the stellate ganglion block. This isn't just another podcast. It's a movement, and one that demystifies trauma, elevates unheard voices, and inspires action.
So hi, Chad. It's nice to see you again as founder of Supermind. I would love to hear you tell your story. I got to hear it the other day, and you're doing some great things for PTSD and trauma, and we want to hear all about it.
Thank you so much for having me, Coleen. It's great to be here and would love to share more. And yeah, maybe I'll just start with my story and how I got interested in first mindfulness and then specifically the brainwave therapy that we offer. So my mindfulness journey started about 10 years ago. I went over to Southeast Asia on a backpacking trip by myself, which was quite interesting. And I ended up enrolling in a 10-day silent meditation retreat.
Oh, wow.
It's a Vipassana retreat for those that are familiar. And that was in Nepal. And just experienced some wonderful insights and learnings and really had a personal experience with just how powerful mindfulness can be. And that really started my interest in meditating and mindfulness and personal development, self-development. And I've really been on that journey for the last 10 years now. I'm just deep diving into that space and doing as much as I can for myself. And we've developed a tool that can help a lot of people, I think, that are suffering from challenges right now with what we offer with Supermind.
I didn't actually know that part of your journey, and that's very interesting to hear too. So tell us more about how all this works and how one would find you, just the whole gamut of what's up with this.
Absolutely. Maybe I'll just share a little bit more of my personal story as to how I got connected with this as a modality. At its core, it's biofeedback. And as I fast forward from my backpacking trip and go into my entrepreneurial journey, I first started a travel company, and about a year into that, started to experience a lot of anxiety and stress and sleep issues, and it was just tough. It was just really tough. I was drinking so much coffee, and that was exacerbating some physical health issues. I actually had a heart arrhythmia as a result of that atrial fibrillation, which just made it even harder to persevere in some of those endeavors. But at that time, I was looking for something new and something different that I could use to help me in what I was processing and what I was feeling. I tried therapy, I tried medication, and I already had a pretty good meditation practice. But those weren't really enough. And it was at that time that I met my co-founder of Supermind at his wellness center. And he had done some really unique things with biofeedback, with brainwave mapping, and creating a new modality that at its core is very empowering. It teaches us how to rewire our brains through neuroplasticity. And so I went through that program at that time, and I had just profound results. I was able to reduce certain indicators of stress in the brainwaves by over 90% after just a 10-day program. It was 10 sessions I did consecutively over 10 days. It was life-changing. So that really inspired me to want to help bring this more to others and really be a champion for this incredible power that we all have, which is the power to change our brains and to change our brain waves through neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is, at its most simple level, the ability to create neural pathways in our brain. And you may hear stories of these amazing, miraculous things happening, like Jill Bolte Taylor is a neuroscientist that had a viral TED Talk called My Stroke of Insight. And she describes this experience where she had some brain issues and was able to recover full recovery, right? Against all odds. And so we kind of are familiar with this concept of the brain's amazing qualities, but we don't really yet know how to apply that to our daily lives and apply it to our mental well-being, our optimization of how our brain and mind function. And that's what we've created that's different. So it's a brainwave driven, biofeedback based coaching program that incorporates mindfulness, it incorporates positive psychology, lots of education on what all these things mean, and help people to build a lot more self awareness around the things that are holding them back with objective data. So we can pinpoint specific brainwave indicators that cause a resistance or a spike of activity or an activation of the nervous system when an individual is practicing an exercise. So I'll be sitting in a chair, I'll be thinking about something, and my brainwave starts spiking when I'm thinking about that thing. Then it's like, hey, that means something. So now we know what to work on.
So that's based on something you said and triggered to the person, or
So we have a curriculum that hits on some really universal stuff for all humans. It's like, hey, if we can all feel more safe at the deepest levels of our nervous system, then that's one really good way to quiet down stress and excessive fight or flight responses. At the end of the day, those are all based on some fear that there's a threat to our physical survival. And that's where there's a misunderstanding in modern society, because often these aren't really physical threats. They're emails, they're excessive news consumption, there may be some relationship questions or whatever it is. But at the deep level of the nervous system, we're seeing this as perceived as a physical threat. And that's really not the case. So there's a way to hack or to optimize or to reallocate energy in the brain to free up mental resources by quieting those concerns over our physical safety. So that's one of the universal things that we guide people.
we talked about the interchangeable use of safe and fear as well, kind of one and the same, right? For those people that look at more kind of fear based, or some people don't even trace the root of the thing that's causing them anxiety or are not able to do that, right? So it's kind of a more than just feeling safe, do you think?
Yeah, so the fear component is absolutely interrelated with this, because usually the other side of the coin there of why we might not feel safe is there's some fear of something happening, something going wrong. There's some what if scary thing that we might be worried about or concerned about, and there's a fear at the root of that concern oftentimes. So safety and fear are like, those are really going hand in hand with one another.
And then you mentioned concrete seeing. So you're actually measuring this. Can you explain how you're measuring that?
Absolutely. So in our programs, we first have a coaching component where people meet one on one with a qualified coach and they talk about different things that are coming up in their life and different concepts around safety and calming the nervous system, reducing the stress response. And then we go into a 2 hour brainwave training session. This is also synonymous with biofeedback. So it's very benign, it's very safe, it's completely non invasive. You have sensors that are on the head, and then you're listening to sounds that are guiding your brain waves. And the sounds are very calming, they're very soothing. So, for those that are familiar with the idea of a sound healing, it's kind of like a personalized sound healing because the sounds are actually in real time adjusting to your brain waves. And then this is really to answer your question. It's a mental exercise that we give to each individual. There's a prompt, and this prompt can be a visualization or a breathing exercise or some kind of a self-affirming mantra or a conditional affirmation. We can talk about what conditional affirmations are and the power of affirmations and questions around that. But essentially what you can do is you can measure the brainwave's response to a person focusing on a topic. And so let's say someone's stressed and they don't exactly know why. They may think it's home stress, they may think it's work stress. And by visualizing being in a stressful situation and dealing with it in a calm manner, we can measure how the brainwaves respond to that specific topic. So maybe when they visualize themselves in the home environment, their brainwaves are super calm, right? And then they visualize themselves in a professional environment and their brainwaves start spiking. We see a 70% increase in activity. Then they're like, okay, now I know the stress is actually caused by the professional stuff and less the personal stuff. And that is a window or a pathway into a much more precise healing or transformation on the underlying root cause of, in this example, the physical manifestation of stress.
That's incredible. And then basically, so how does it work for the person to feel the results?
So we show brainwaves on a screen. So there's a TV up on the wall, and there are some exercises that are done eyes open. And in those exercises, the person is directly seeing what's happening in their brain. And that's so cool, right? It's like a mirror. It's like real time feedback. So if my focus is on calming myself and I'm doing a little visualization to imagine being in a calm place, whatever works for the person, maybe it's a beautiful memory or it's a serene beach or it's a hike they did in nature or it's something that feels really, really nice and relaxing. So they can visualize that in their mind. And then they're also seeing their brainwaves and they say, wow, my brainwaves are calming down as I'm doing this. Like, oh my gosh, like this stuff works, right? That's like the big aha. It's like, okay, if I do these mindfulness things, yes, they work. And we're giving that data to show in real time just how effective it can be. So, especially for the Western world, we're just still getting used to mindfulness as this tool, like within the last like 10 years or so, and to have the data for seeing the benefits in real time just really helps people to grasp this as a tool to put into their life and to put into practice.
I think it might seem too good to be true in its own way, doesn't it?
Well, I think I hear that there's a lot of power to this data, but at the end of the day, it's still up to the individual to show up and to do the work for themselves and to commit to their transformation, commit to their journey, commit to their process. And that's where we see the most, let's say, resistance to our programs is like people just say they're busy. And that's part of the core problem too. It's like, hey, we're offering this really amazing way, but you've got to come in, you've got to spend the time. And I think people are just so overwhelmed with their responsibilities and the busyness that they almost can't engage. And that's where, I would respond to the too good to be true. It's like, yes, this really does work really well, but you have to devote the time to yourself to really get the benefits from it.
Understood. And I imagine, doesn't it seem like people are just busier and it's unexplained how it's just crazy how busy people are now? It's a busy contest.
It's almost like a contest, right? It's like, yeah, I the way I think about it is there's just so much tech and it's getting faster and faster and we've got notifications coming from all over the place and there's expectations to be on at work after hours or over the weekends, or even if there's not expectations, the phone is right there and there's just that association of work responsibilities. And so I think that is a big part of the problem is this always on tech. And a big part of the solution that we're offering is the ability to develop these tools to be able to deal with that from a nervous system standpoint. So we're not overstimulated, we're not hijacked by this constant stimulation, that we can say, hey, wait a second, I'm going to take some moments for myself. I'm going to calm down. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to learn how to be more mindful in my life. And then as a benefit of that, I'm going to feel a lot better. I'm going to be healthier. I'm going to sleep better. I'm going to perform better. And just all the other stuff that we know is already associated with things like meditation and mindfulness.
Now, how do you get the word out there in many different ways, but how do you also work with other providers of dealing with trauma, especially?
Well, we operate as a tool for other providers. So this is something that therapists or coaches can add as an adjunct to their current practices. And they can customize the delivery of the content to fit their current frameworks. Now using the brainwave data as an objective measure to understand how the nervous system is responding to specific concepts. So that's one way that we can support a trauma-informed counseling approach. And that's something we're exploring now with different groups. Trauma is a little outside of our scope as a wellness company. So I want to just make that note that we're not doing medical treatment, and it really is, it's as an adjunct to a qualified licensed professional that is trained in the treatment of trauma specifically. But this can be a really helpful way of understanding the nervous system and also getting to those deeper rooted issues. And I want to introduce a new concept here, in the subconscious mind. So this is a concept that's been around in psychology for a long time, but not so much in a measurable way. And through the brain waves, we have a new way of measuring the subconscious. And it's very easy. It's just simply those brainwave frequencies that are the lowest level of the mind, which are the delta, the theta brainwaves. And the way we think about deep healing of trauma often has a subconscious component, which is things that could be stored in the body. So this is like a proxy for somatic trauma-informed healing, and there are different body practices like breath work and others. But having this data to be able to see what are the belief systems in the subconscious mind, how do those relate to safety and a sense of self-esteem and worthiness? And so that's where this is another exciting development for trauma practitioners to integrate into their practice.
So cool. I mean, the more I listen to you, the more amazed I am. So, Chad, tell us how you prepared yourself. All this knowledge you have on the mind is amazing, and there's so much to learn always. How did you prepare yourself for this part of your journey?
It's just, for me, it's been really living this content as a lifestyle for the last 5 years in particular. I am so deeply immersed in the field of personal development, self-development. I read constantly all the books you would think of, from The Body Keeps the Score to Internal Family Systems, IFS work, Michael Singer's stuff, Untethered Soul, a lot of the books in that realm as well. And through my own personal experience, I've done I've done 10 meditation retreats, pretty advanced meditation retreats. I've done over 100 of our sessions. I've studied with the inventor of our modality for the last 4 years to really understand this stuff and form my own perspectives on the subconscious mind, how it works. So self-experimentation, lots of reading, and just having a passion for it. I'm deeply passionate about this for my own growth, my own healing. And so I just love it so much. It's like, the personal and professional, like for me, that they dissolve. There's no boundaries. It's just who I am.
It makes sense. Now, tell what of the things you mentioned. What are a few good books or podcasts or videos somebody could watch, or TED Talks, as you mentioned? What are a few that you recommend? Understanding that they're your recommendations and not.
Yeah, absolutely. I personally love the TED Talk I referred to. Jill Bolte Taylor, neuroscientist, she had a stroke, and she describes her experience from the inside as someone that knew exactly what was going on. And she just had this incredible experience and recovery. And it's so inspiring. I think it was the first TED Talk to actually go viral, which is interesting. Aside from that, I love the personal development books. I'll just kind of rattle off some of my favorite ones. The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. Those are some top favorites that I recommend to everyone. And yeah, I think, that's like where the mindfulness kind of crosses into some of the Eastern traditions of, meditation, and like a lot of that ancient continuity that's come through those traditions is something that I really enjoy making more accessible to people through my own experience. I first discovered meditation 10 years ago, and I think we're still like so early in the adoption here in our country around the benefits of meditation and mindfulness in general.
I agree. And it is hard to see some of the benefits of some of these things when you're so busy. Yet if you give those few minutes ahead of time, it does clear out some of that space to get things and be more productive. Yeah, each person their own journey. But you're offering some tools that are pretty incredible, and thank you for that. I'm so happy that you're able to share this information with us. Now finish the sentence for me though. The first step into erasing the silence around trauma is.
Sharing our personal stories openly, courageously, and vulnerably so that we can heal ourselves and help others to heal.
It's a beautiful answer. Thank you. Thank you. Now, is there anything else you'd like to share, how to find you?
Sure thing. Yeah. So, if anyone's interested in learning more about what we do take on direct clients for mental well being improvements and performance improvements, which could include stress, sleep, energy, focus, and then the reduction of symptoms associated with anxiety, depression, or PTSD. It is important to note we are not medical treatment. This is a wellness service. So, I just want to add that disclaimer again. People can find us on our website, supermind.us. They can also go to our Instagram, supermind.us, and people are welcome to email me directly. My email is chad, chad.olin, olin, at supermind.us. And would love to hear from any potential interested clients about how we can help, as well as any practitioners that maybe work in this field and see having brainwave data as an exciting possibility to add to their practice.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Erase PTSD Now, the podcast. If you've been affected by trauma, loved someone who has, or want to be a part of real change, this space is for you. New episodes drop every third Wednesday. Follow Erase PTSD Now so you never miss an episode, and join us in the fight to erase PTSD.